This is my demonstration of how I make a Dickie bow tie. How did the Dickie bow ties come about? Well, it was about 6 years ago. I did a demonstration at Axminster in Nuneaton, and it was 10 turners' turn. There was 10 of us there demonstrating for 2 days at the new store, and I thought, right, what can I do that's a nice demo that can show the three basic cuts? So the three basic cuts we're looking at is the bead, the cove, and the V-cut. And I thought, I want something different. And then I wonder if anybody's ever made a wooden Dickie bow tie. So I had a little bit of a look on the internet and I thought I'll do a bit of research and ended up doing a lot of research. And I found out that there was a website called the Bow Tie Boys. And what they had done, there were two graduates from a furniture school in America, and they'd actually started producing and selling Dickie bow ties, but they were punched out on a piece of flat material. And so they were about 3 to 4 millimeters thick. And some had ribbons around the center, some had some nice material, sort of tartan material, not different materials, and they were lovely, lovely Dickie bow ties. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could make one, if I could turn one, because a turned one would be nice and something a little bit different. So anyhow, I turned about 20, ready for the 10 turners turn. When I got to the actual Axminster store itself and the whole seminar or symposium or demonstration a couple of days started, I actually within 20 minutes sold two, and I wasn't expecting to sell any. And it was funny. It was this lady came along and she says, "Can I buy one of them for my husband?" And I says, "Well, who's your husband?" She pointed her husband out. I said, "Well, he can make one himself." She says, "Yes, I know, but we're going on a cruise tomorrow, and it would be nice if you had one of those to wear on the captain's table." So I said, "Yeah, no problem." I says, "Which one would you like?" Anyhow, she had a look on the selection that I had, and the one that she chose was a one very similar to that. It's similar to the traditional Dickie bow tie. And I've tried quite a few different ones. And if I show you that one there, that was actually the one I was wearing at 10 Turners Turn. And you can see there's a difference in the, I'll come over to the camera and let you see a little bit closer there. There's a difference in the two Dickie bow ties. One's got a couple of V-cuts and a bead in the centre, and the other one's just got a plain band in the centre. And funnily enough, the plain band has been more popular than the one with the beads and the two V-cuts. So anyhow, because it's the most popular, that's the one we want to make. If that's the one people want, that's what I'll make. And it's a lovely one to make, and it's a nice design and a pattern to follow as well. So there's a couple of different ways that you can actually make your Dickie bow ties. And one is to turn it in solid material. There's a one that I've turned in solid material, a piece of solid oak. And this oak is old oak. We had a lovely old chest of drawers and we no longer needed it, and they're worthless. If you take them to a charity shop, even, they have difficulty getting rid of them. They end up as firewood usually. So what I did, I cut it up and I reclaimed what was good oak, and it is beautiful oak. And although it was small pieces, I thought they're big enough to turn into Dickie bows. So that's a solid one. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually explain later on in the presentation how we cut a solid one in half and the jigs that I use on the bandsaw to be able to cut it in half. This one is a piece of oak, again, a piece of oak. This is the oak that I'm going to demonstrate with tonight. And this is a oak one turned like that, that has been paper jointed so that it splits in half, and we end up with the two halves or the two Dickie bow ties like that. There we go. I'll have them the right way around. The two Dickie bow ties in half. And again, I'm going to show you how to finish them off tonight. So what we'll do is we'll turn a Dickie bow tie, we'll split it in half, and then I'll show you how to fit the elastic. So this one, by the way, is a piece of Thoya burr. And Thoya burr is quite rare. And I've made a few of them. A few friends have a Thoya burr one. So there we go. We've got the little Dickie bow ties there. This one here, again, a split turning. This is some beautiful wengi that I was given from a master woodturner. And when I say a master, I don't think I've seen a better woodturner anywhere. And he is fabulous at turning spindles. They call him Steve Jones. Look him up on YouTube. Honestly, you'll be blown away by the skill that Steve has. And he sent us some of this beautiful wengi. So that wengi is going to be finished off and turned into Dickie bow ties. And actually, these two are going to end up back with Steve. There's one for him and one for his grandson. So here we go. I've got a piece of oak, and what I'm going to do, these are the draw runners. You can see the actual plywood that was left in the draw runners there. I've paper jointed it together, and first of all, I'm just going to find the center in the material. So I'll go onto the overhead camera, which is there, so you can see the center, and then I'll take the pencil and my trusty old ruler, or a straight edge of some description. There's my ruler there. And then I'm going to just draw corner to corner. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a line across there so that I get exactly the center of the square section piece of oak, because that's just scrap that's on there. So I'm going to join corner to corner. The only thing is, I wear glasses for distance. And the problem with the glasses for distance is I can't see that close up. So I'm going to take my glasses off now. I've got a couple of options to protect my eyes. I can either I'll introduce you to Gilbert. This is Gilbert, the glasses holder. He was given to me by Pete. He was given to me when I did a demo, and it was a gift. And he actually turns them for the site support, and he creates a lot of money for the site support charity. So there you are. There's little Gilbert, the glasses holder, and a lovely little present. We do get some nice presents from people that we meet when we're on the road demonstrating. And that's one thing that we haven't got at the minute with the coronavirus. So this is why really what I've decided is, with investment in the workshop and the cameras and the TVs and everything, I can come to you now, and because I know you can't come to me. So hopefully it's a win-win for all of us, me coming to you and you seeing the shots on the TV. So I want the center of the piece of material there. I'll go back overhead again, and then you can see a little bit clearer. So there we are. We've got the center of the material there, and I'm going to make a mark there. Then what I'm going to do is just take my gimlet or my brad awl, and with that I'm just going to pop that in the center and just make a little hole. I'm not going to press too hard because I don't want to split the paper with the point. And on the other side, what I'll do is I will again mark that across square there, and then we can maybe go picture in picture on here. I'll change this over from the front view to the tailstock end. This is another image you can see from that side. There we are. We've got the tailstock end on there. And again, I can just go from corner to corner. You need to be pretty precise here because you want your Dickie bow tie to be exactly in half when you split it. Now, dimensions wise, for those of you who are going to have a go at making one of these, and I hope you do, we've got 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters, 40 millimeter square section of material, which is 1 3/4 inches by 1 3/4 inches. So in old money. So there we've got the brad awl again. I'm just going to make a little point hole in there right in the center. And now what I'm using a step center, and I'm using a ring center on here. The step center has got a spring in there that springs into place, so that will go into there and bite on to the 16 points that are out here. If you've got a traditional center like the center that comes with the lathe like that, what I would suggest is, where that point is, I would suggest that you actually cut a line across there. You could do it with a tennis saw, or you could do it with a bandsaw, working on the V on a bandsaw using a V block. Or you can just glue a piece of sacrificial material on that end, side grain wise. So you could get a bit of material, glue it onto that end, and then you could put that drive center into that bit of material so as you didn't split it. But if you did put the drive centre like that with the 4 prongs, you might run the risk, especially if you've got the 2 prongs in the centre like that, you might run the risk of splitting the material. But with these two, it should work fine. So that's the traditional 4-prong drive with the traditional ring center. I like these ring centers, it's probably my favorite. If you were to use a cone center like this one, I'll guarantee you will split that material with a cone center, with it being paper jointed. It's fine if it's solid. So there we are, we've got our material. I'm going to pop it in between centers. I'll just bring this tool rest back a little bit, and we'll pop it in between centers and bring up the tailstock, wind the tailstock up to there, tighten that onto the spur drives there we go, and then lock your quill off there, and there we are, we're ready to turn. So that's the material positioned in between centers. And to start with, I'm going to use the traditional spindle roughing gouge. This is the spindle roughing gouge. This is a new one actually. These are the new tools that are now available from Record, and this is the 1-inch spindle roughing gouge. It's useful having the sticker on there, especially for new turners, so that they can identify which are the correct tools. Because the one thing that I do get concerned about is when, if I grab a one here, I've got a ball gouge here. There's a ball gouge there, and there's a spindle roughing gouge. Now, a lot of people think, oh, this is a big, strong tool. It is, but it should never, ever be used on a ball. The only tool that should be used on a ball is a ball gouge. It's a cylindrical piece of steel. I'm not saying it won't break, I'm not saying it won't bend, but it will be an awful lot stronger than a tang that's there, because that's a flat piece of steel that's rolled up. So if you take nothing else away from tonight's presentation, remember, never ever use a spindle roughing gouge on a ball blank. So we shall pop this back up in its holder, and if I show you, I've got a lovely little ball here that was turned for me by a friend, and he said, there you are, to put little bits and bobs in on your recording studio, put a bit of colour in as well. Now, if we look at that, there's a ball blank. So you've got 180 degrees. You've got end grain every 180 degrees. And that, I will guarantee, if you were to use this tool on there, you're putting yourself in an awful lot of danger. So please don't do that. So there we go. We're ready to go. I'm going to turn this down into a cylinder. I'm working on the full belt. I've got the highest speed with the lowest torque. And the reason for that is I want speed to get a nice clean finish on here. What I must remember though is I must remember to put on my safety glasses. Never ever turn without safety glasses. Either a face visor like this one here. That's a face visor there. That's a Honeywell visor. And the Honeywell visor is probably the best visor on the market. But buy the most expensive one. They're about £35 on Amazon, and that will give you full protection, especially when you're working with materials that's got loose grain, bark, or anything like that. But what I like is, I like these wrap-round goggles. They're very comfortable on your face. And I also like the yellow as well, because they make every day a lovely bright day. And they do. I prefer them to the clear. So there we are. We've got the yellow face goggles on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the side view there. And what I want to do from the side is I want to show you the body action. And you can see my body view. You can see where I'm at. And I've got the tool there. I've got my thumb over the top, my fingers wrapped underneath, and I'm just going to hold the tool onto the tool rest and glide the tool backwards and forwards. Now, I am naturally right-handed. So what I would do is I would work from left to right, from the highest point to the lowest point, and from right to left. What I would never do is go onto the material at this end and go straight across and back again, because you run the risk of splitting the material off. So always work from high to low. And for those of you who are new to turning, there is a book here that I would like to show you. And this, in fact, I have a couple of books here. I'll show you them both while I'm on. A couple of good investments there would be to buy, if you are new to turning, is to buy yourself these two books. Wood Turning, A Foundation by Keith Rowley. I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman at Loughborough University and at a AWGB, Association of Woodturners of Great Britain, presentation there. It was a seminar, and he was a lovely, lovely man, but still a brilliant book for anybody wanting to learn to turn. But another book that I really like is this one here by Phil Irons. And Phil is a turner from Stratford-upon-Avon, and he's probably best known for his holoforms and his beautiful colour work that he does. I actually went on a course with Phil, and he taught me colouring techniques, because that's one thing that I love to do, is go on a course every year and treat myself to a course. So there we've got Phil's book, and it's two books in one actually, and you've got really useful information in there. There's his baby rattle, but in the bottom book, you've got the ways of converting the material. So again, have a look for that. You can get them off Amazon. I'm not sure if Phil might even have some himself on his website. So there we go. Those two books, for me, those two books are definitely the best two books to start off with. Having said that, you'll probably amass a load of books, because I've got a library full of them, and you never stop learning, and that's the main thing. So right, we're ready to go. I'm switching the lathe on. I've got the speed turned all the way down, although I am on the highest level of speed for this spindle. I've got the speed turned all the way down, and I've got my protection on. I've got my smock. I've got a decent pair of boots on, work trousers, eye protection, and when I come to do some sanding, I will have lung protection as well. So we've got the spindle roughing gouge here. I'm just going to stand to one side. I'm here. I've got my thumb on there, my fingers underneath there. I'm going to stand to one side, and I'm going to work from left to right. So we'll set the material away, and I'll turn the speed up. I was on the slowest speed there. With the slowest speed is 1200. I'm going to take it up to about 2200. There. Thumb on the top, fingers underneath, rested on the toe rest, and go across there like that. And you'll notice I'm standing to one side. And the reason for that is, if the material is going to come off the lathe, it usually comes off straight away when you first start turning. You can see there's more coming off that side into the square than that side. So I'm going left to right with the spindle rough and gouge. The only other consideration to make, which I should have mentioned it before we start, is every day before I start turning, what I do, I use this product here, which is a garrison block, and I just rub the tool rest with the garrison block so that the tool itself will glide smoothly over the rest, and it makes the turning experience much more pleasurable. So we'll crack on. We'll get the material turned into the round. And we'll give you an overhead view on there. There we go with the camera in camera. So now I can travel backwards and forwards because I've got it into the round. So there's a little bit of paper sticking out of there. Almost there, there's still a little flat on here. But that's the spindle rough and gouge. Now, in the basic spindle turning set, what you get is you get a spindle rough and gouge, you get a spindle gouge, and you get a parting tool. And those three tools there, they're all labeled, and that's your spindle turning set. And that's really all you need for spindle turning, with the exception of another tool, which is called a skew. Now, a skew can be the difference between a turner continuing and a turner packing in when they first start, because it is the most difficult tool in the toolbox to use. And if you see Steve use it, it's not difficult at all when he uses it. He's brilliant. But it takes a bit of getting used to. And I think, you know, treat every opportunity on a piece of wood that you can to learn something new. if you're just starting out, you're not in a hurry. It's not as if you're a production turner. You're doing it for fun. So do it as if it's a new experience. So I've got a scale here, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the scale from there to there. I'll go back onto the side view, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to work across there like that. So I've got my hand over the top. I'm picking the cut up there, and I'm just going to glide along here. With the scale like that. I've got my finger out in line with the side of the scale, picking the cut up and gliding along to there. And what I'm doing is I'm using the bottom half of the scale. I'm never going above center. I can turn the other way and I can put the tool on there, lock it into my side and glide along there. And turn that off there, pick the cut up there. Glide along there. Now I prefer to go that way. That's the way. That would be my chosen way, because that's the way I would get the best finish. But that works for me. But I'm not a production turner. I'm a turner for pleasure, you could say, but I'm a teacher as well, and I've been teaching for quite a number of years. So there we are. That is into the round. There's some lovely medullary rays on there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to check the diameter. I'm almost there with that, so I can have a little bit more play with the skew. So we'll go from overhead and we'll pop it onto there, and then we can pick the cut up. I can turn the speed up a little bit more, pick the cut up there, and just practice my cut. Check your diameter. Almost there. I'm going to go the other way. Just to true it up a little bit more. I'm nearly there with that. Pick the cut up. And again, you're not in a race. Enjoy the experience. I'm almost there with that. Again, check that diameter. That's it. A little bit of resistance, but I'm over there. So what we've got is a diameter there, and let me give you the size. The diameter of that material is 32 millimeters. 32 millimeters. And it just so happens that the distance from the bow to the center is 32 millimeters as well. And the overall length is 95 millimeters. So 32 millimeters is 1 3/8. Sorry, 32 is about 1 1/4. And the 95 is for our American friends is 3 3/4. So there we are. There's the dimensions there. And what we've got is, so we've got some lovely medullary rays on that side there, which will be beautiful. So I'm going to now make marks on there, which are my reference points. And these reference points are highlighted using the, I'll just pick that up, using the storyboard, which is here. I've got a storyboard there. You can see the shape of the Dickie bow tie on there. So I'll hold the storyboard on there and I'll set it away. And again, I'm just putting it up to there, and I'm just going to drop that pencil into there, into that saw groove, into there, 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 and there. So there we've got our reference points. That's our band in the middle. That's our 2 bows. And we can mark it out so we can get repetition with that little storyboard. I'm going to drop this down again now below the quill, 6 millimeters below the quill. And then we can take Another tool. So up to now we've used the spindle rough and gouge, but we've also been introduced to the skew. You don't have to use the skew if you don't want to. You can just use a spindle rough and gouge, but a skew will make a really nice job. And I will take the parting tool now, and I'll give myself some reference points with the parting tool. So I've got another set of calipers. And speaking of calipers, by the way, when you get calipers usually are sharp. What you need to do is round the points of these calipers off. And if you do that, you'll be able to rest it on the material without it actually blowing off and getting knocked off the material with the points of the caliper. So round them off and you should be fine. Now these calipers here are set to the internal diameter. So I've got that template here, and there the calipers are set to the internal diameter there, and we can take that internal section down there to that diameter there. So with the parting tool, again, set it away onto there, hold it there, and just let it slip over like that. On the pencil line, hold it there at that point, slip over like that. Okay, so we shall go into the side view. So I'm going, this time I'm going to go to the end here, give myself some clearance on the pencil line, hold that there like that, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock into there, let that slip over. You might swell, take that down flush as well. And this is an arcing cut. My finger is in line with the tool and I'm arcing the tool up and over like that. I'm do the same on here. Hold the caliper into there and let it drop over. And that'll do. I'm going to leave that on there because it's into the 16 points. So there we are. We've got our dentals cut. So those marks are your dentals. Now we need to take that section out in the middle. Probably the easiest way to do it is with the parting tool. And again, we'll go back onto the overhead view. Into there, the arcing cut. Just blend that into there. Blend that into there. Blend into there. There we are. And turning is such a lovely, lovely pastime as well as a profession. But if you're new to turning, or if you've never turned before, now's the time to have a go, because there's lots of opportunities for people to learn online. So right, bevel rubbing there, lift up. I've got the spindle gouge now. I better stop and explain this in more detail. What we've got is a spindle gouge there, and actually I'm better off on the overhead. I'll go back overhead to show you. There is the traditional spindle gouge here. If I show you on this with the traditional spindle gouge, just borrow that off there a moment. There's your traditional spindle gouge there. Now, when you buy a spindle gouge, it comes factory ground like that. That's the factory grind. Now, I like a fingernail grind, which is swept back. Some call it a detail gouge, but I call it a fingernail grind, so it's swept back. And that's my preferred style. So, but I've got them both to show you the difference. The other one's all right. There's nothing wrong with it, but I do like the swept back ground. So then what we'll do is turn the bead there. So I am pointing my finger out in line with the flute there. I'm resting it onto the tool rest and I'm going round 90 degrees. So I'm going 45 degrees to the tool rest there. I'm going round to 90 degrees up to horizontal. So we start in with the clock face at 12. There's the clock face at 12. Whoop, this always seems to happen with this magnet. And what I'm doing is I'm going round to 3, like that. So take that off there. This, by the way, was an idea a student who's a very good friend, Helen Bailey, she gave me those, and that was an idea that she got from a lovely man, Walter, who taught her how to turn as well. And it useful tool in it being able to explain the clock movements. So there we've got the bevel rubbing round to there and round. Bevel rubbing round into there. Onto the pencil line, just leave the pencil line on and go around to the dental there. So that's the half bead into there. We'll do the same on the other side, but this time I'm physically going to move my hand around 90 degrees so that it's a natural wrist movement there. I'll show you from above. So we're going to go onto there, pick the cut up, there's the bevel rubbing, there's the cut round. So I'm going up and round like that. Onto there, bevel rubbing, cut round, and it's a body movement. There we go, like that. So then what we want to do is, if we look at that, it's a chamfer with a bead as well, a chamfer with a bead there. So I'm going to lock it into my side, locked into my side like that, and I'm going to thumb on there, and I'm just going to go around like that, and then I'm going to go round like that, so that we've got them both somewhere near. There, we're eyeing them up, and then a little half bead on here, and a little half bead on there. Onto there, and then into there, to match the two in there. So there's the basic shape. So we're ready for sanding now with the band in the middle. Sanding wise, what we need to do, before I sand, let's not get too excited here, just give myself the reference point on there, go down into there, and down into there, and then we're ready to sand. So abrasives wise, I'll probably start on 120 and go through to 400. So I'm going to take the tool rest out. Always take the tool rest out of the banjo, and I'll put this to this side, and I've got an extractor here. There's the extractor there. I've got the extractor there, and we can use this, pop that onto there, and then you'll be able to see better from above. And we've got the abrasives. What I also need is a needle lung protection. Now, I've got a mask here. I've got a stealth mask. We'll go on to the front face camera for this one. And let's have a look. I've got a stealth mask here. This is your stealth mask. Whoop, tight, lid's tight. And magnets are very strong. And that I could wear on there with the stealth mask. I'll have to put the microphone down a little bit. So use my stealth mask like that. That's a great tool. Or the alternative is just the AirCap 3 is designed to be a full face visor as well as the ventilation system. The air goes in through there and then it protects your lungs. But I'll just use the stealth mask. I think you may be able to hear me better with this. Well, you couldn't hear better with the stealth mask, so what I did, I decided to overdub this. I was just demonstrating there the power of the Camvac sucking the shavings away. So I'm supporting my wrist with the Rhino Grip Abrasive, and I'm going to sand the Dickie Bow tie starting with 120 grit, and I'll take it through 180 240, 320, 400 and 600. I'll only show a couple of grits with the abrasive, but one of the key things to remember is to use a soft brush in between the grits, and if you use a soft brush in between the grits you can brush off any little bits of grit that are left from the previous abrasive, because what I tend to find is if there's grit left from the previous abrasive it can cause a scratch. So it's just a soft brush that I use to get rid of the grit and it gets sucked into the camvac extractor. So I've got the ES400 on above, which is getting rid of the very fine dust as well, and I've also got, well, I've got the stealth mask on that one, but normally what I would use is my AirCap 3, and you can get an AirCap 4 now which has a much better battery system in it, which is superb. Now we've got a couple of options here. I could leave it as it is and just buff it up on a buffing wheel, which I'm going to show you how to use a buffing wheel as well. Or what I could do is put a coat of sanding sealer on. If I'm going to use sanding sealer, what I like to use is the chestnut sanding sealer, and I'll just give it a shake, and it's got the pistol grip on there as well, and I'll just give it a quick coat of sanding sealer on there. But I don't want sanding sealer to go down into my extractor. My extractor's off, by the way, but I would prefer not to have any sanding sealer go onto any part of the lathe. So what I've got myself this piece here, and that can go behind there like that, and then I can just spray across there like that. I want my glasses back on. I want my safety glasses back on because I don't want to get any splashes of spray in my eyes. And I've given it a shake. I'll just give it a little quick coat of sanding sealer like that. That's it. And just spin it. And then we can let that dry. And what I've got a little bit of, set that away, dry that off with safety cloth. And you can feel when it's dry because it just goes over there nice and smooth. Also, if you put your finger on the back, if it pulls the hairs, you would know that. So I'll just go back into the overhead view like that, and I'm just holding that underneath and just polishing that up like that with the safety cloth there. I'll cut it back with some white web racks just to cut it back like that. And then what I'll do is I will take a piece of carnauba wax. This is carnauba. Go around there, along there, just resting it on there and letting it caress the wood. I'm not being heavy-handed with it at all. And then back to the safety cloth again, and you'll see the shine get built up on there. And that'll shine like a new pin on there, and there we go. That's one way of polishing your Dickie bow tie. So what we can do now is take it out from in between centers, and I've got my piece of board on here and move this out of the road, and actually I've got a bit of web racks here which I can rest on, and there, put that onto there. So there's our Dickie bow tie ready to be split in half now. So to split it in half, what I use is, I've got a lovely, it's Ashley Isles chisel, this beautiful chisel. I've got a little rubber mallet as well if I need it, and what I'll do is take that, pop that on there, find that center mark there. There's the center. Hold that like that, and just give it a tap like that, and already, can you see, it started to split. So all I need to do now is just twist that, and it's come apart. So there's the two pieces of Dickie bow tie there, and you can see the paper on them there, right? Now appearances are deceptive, aren't they? I was looking at that and thinking it must be the medullary rays, because I thought it looked a little bit bigger on one side than the other, but you know, it can't be, because if you turn them around both ways like that and they both meet, then it's obviously the same size on each side. So there we are. Happy with that. So there we go, two halves of our Dickie bow ties there. So the next thing that we want to do is cut off these points here. So I'm just going to pop that Japanese saw. I've got this little Japanese saw here. Lovely little Japanese saw, very, very sharp. And I'll just grab a little saw bench hook. I've made a couple of little bench hooks here. And again, this was the chest of drawers. It was the drawer runners. I'm just using them to cut my pieces of Dickie bow tie up. So we can pop that onto there, pop that onto there, and onto there. So there I've got a little bench hook for, and when I cut through that there, I'll bring that across here. I'm cutting through that square there, but I've got that bench hook there to protect the blades from going onto the bed or any metal or anything like that. And there, that's it. And I've got my finger out in line with the actual blade, and it helps to be able to cut square. So get rid of those two little bits that are there, and then we're ready to sand up. We want to sand the inside of the Dickie bow tie there. So I'm going to put the other piece to one side, and I'm going to finish this off now. And we can pop in the sanding arbor on here and put it into the internal part of the jaws. I just need to move my tailstock back a little bit to get that into there. Open up the jaws of the chuck like that, and then have that into the jaws of the chuck there. Tighten onto there. Bring your tailstock up so that the tailstock is in the center of the sanding arbor there. Tighten that up, and then tighten up your, there we are, that's it. So I've got a Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to mark a line from the center out over on each side, so as that shows the direction of the sanding. So you're sanding from the center over to the outside. I'm drawing a couple of little crescents in there so that when that's sanded it gives the illusion that it's been hollowed. Now the sanding arbor is a Simon Hope sanding arbor, but you could just turn a cylinder down of wood, stick some Velcro on, and then put your Velcro abrasive on, or you could use self-adhesive abrasive and put it straight onto the wood. So I'm drawing it out from the center to the outer, and it gives the illusion when you look at it that it's actually curved a little bit, so it curves round the shirt collar. And I'm sanding the paper off there and sanding up. I've got the extractor on again, the Camvac. As you can see, the dust just being drawn straight away with it. And then what I'll do is I'll sand each end to give that illusion that it's actually been hollowed out. So we're drawing the material along and curving it round the sanding arbor, and we'll create a crescent shape in each end. It also takes a little bit of weight out of the actual Dickie bow itself, so it just reduces the amount of weight, and it sits nice and balanced on the shirt collar once we get the elastic fitted to it. I've got the AS400 running, and I've also got my mask on. I'm using the Stealth mask, which is made by Trend. Alternatively, you could use an ellipse mask, or what you could also use is the air cap, of which I've got the air cap 3, and the new version of the air cap is the air cap 4. It has a battery life that lasts twice as long as the air cap 3, and also the air cap 4, the battery is in the crown of the hat. So now that we've finished sanding using the arbor, what I'm going to do is just take a piece of abrasive, and I'll just hand sand it and take the sharp edges off around the Dickie bow tie, so that we can then not worry about actually catching anything or getting a spelt or anything out of it. Just hand sand it through, and it should be fine, ready for putting a little bit of finish on the back prior to fitting the elastic. Mask off, and there we've got the little Dickie bow tie sanded up on the inside. I'm going to take my safety glasses off now, put my glasses back on, and so what I'm going to do now is show you how to finish the Dickie bow tie, turn it into a Dickie bow tie, but I'm also going to show you a couple of other methods of actually finishing them off. So I will finish this one first and then we'll go on to the other finishing methods.
So here we've got the Dickie Bow tie all sanded up, and I've got a little upholstery stud there which I'm going to cut to length, which is around about 2 or 3 millimeters. What I've done is I've put a little hole in the centre of the Dickie Bow tie with the bradawl or the gimlet, and now using the side cutters cup the actual upholstery stud in your hand so that you protect yourself from the piece that you're cutting off flying off and hitting you in the eye or all over. I would suggest keeping your glasses on, safety glasses.
So then we take a little bit of glue and we can just put a drop of glue onto there like that. Take your elastic and just pop your elastic onto there like that. Don't put it on with your thumb, otherwise what will happen is your thumb will stick to the elastic and your elastic will stick to the Dickie Bow, and then you'll have your thumb stuck to the Dickie Bow. So bring that round to there, pop that onto there like that, then hold the two together.
A little drop more glue in the centre and then push the upholstery stud into the centre and hold the elastic down just for a few seconds until the super glue actually takes hold, and then we'll be able to let it set overnight.
That will be dry enough for tomorrow on there. So there we are, there's the elastic and the stud. So preparing your material, if you want to do it so that it is paper jointed, you just want your glue there. So with your wood glue, put your white wood glue onto there, just spread that onto there like that. And onto there. And this is just ordinary PVA white wood glue. And then just put the paper onto there, onto one side, sorry. You don't want it on both sides, you just want it on one side, like that. So you've got your paper like that. Cut your paper off. There we are. Just put that to one side for now. There we go, cut that onto there and then pop your other piece onto here like that. Line the two up and I just rub joint them like that until it becomes tacky. Just rub joint it like that. And then get yourself a cramp. I like these Bessie cramps and they are ideal just to tighten onto the material. The Bessie cramps like that. Pop that onto there, down onto there. Just before you tighten it up all together, line it up so as it's near enough. Flush on that way. Flush on that way. There. Hold the two and then tighten it like that. And there you go. There's your paper joint done like that. So I can pop that to one side, let that dry. So that's how we paper joint them. If I'm turning it out of a piece of solid stock, then again, as long as it's at least 40 by 40, as I was saying before, these bits here, these are the sections out of the draw unit. So again, we'll draw that across there and you'll end up with a square out of there, 40 by 40. And that should do fine. So there's a bit of the leg there, solid section, and that will turn into a solid Dickie Bow like that. Now what we need to do is cut that Dickie Bow in half, and to do that you need to use a template. You can't use your bandsaw and push it straight through, it would be dangerous. So what I've got here is a template there. There's two runners on there and on there. And what I can do is just hold that like that from the actual material, and you can push that through your bandsaw, and there you're safe. Another way that I do it is I've made these two pieces of mahogany up like that. I've got it like that, so as I can cut off the nibs on the end there. I've got a V point in there, and then once those nibs are off, I can push that into there and that into there, hold it with both hands like that, and push it through the bandsaw. Okay, and that will hold it tight, and those little Velcro dots there push onto the actual Dickie Bow itself to take it through. Don't ever even think about trying to do it by hand, because I'll tell you now, you will have a nasty accident, so don't do it. This is the chestnut buffing system. What we've got your Tripoli, you've got your white wax, and you've got your carnauba. So we put that into the jaws of the chuck, and to protect both the material and your bed, what I like to use, I use an old shower mat. So we're going to polish that up there. We need to protect our lungs. We're working with cotton mops, so we're better off protecting our lungs. And again, I'm going to put my mask on, and that will make sure I've got lung protection.
Again, I've had to do a voiceover at this section because we've got the extractor going, I've got the mask on, so you can't hear that well. So anyhow, with the chestnut tree, we've got the three waxes here. We've got the Tripoli wax, which is the brown wax, and then we'll apply that, then the white diamond, and then the carnauba. But again, less is more. We don't need to put a whole lot of wax on. If you put a whole lot of wax on, what you tend to find is that you get a patchy, scarmy finish. So for the purpose of this exercise, what I'm using is that full solid Dickie bow tie that we turned, and I'm holding the bow tie at about the 8 o'clock position on the clock. I'm not going above that. If I go above that, it's got a tendency to grab, and I'm going with the grain to start with, working on the Tripoli. The Tripoli is really like a grain filler or a sealer, and then we go on to the white diamond. I haven't actually put my sand and sealer on because it's not required. And then we go on to the carnauba, and the carnauba is that's what gives it its lovely furniture finish and gets it shining really nice. From above, I'm showing a piece of the wengi, and again, with it being a lovely dark rich wood, you can see that the grain filled in with the Tripoli there. Then onto the centre wheel, we'll start to put the first coat of polish on with the white, and then the final coat with the carnauba. Now I've done this fairly swiftly. I would expect it to take at least 2 or 3 times the amount of time that you've seen it on the video, but you'll get a beautiful finish, and you'll be delighted with it.
So we've got, you could, if you wanted to, you could actually just use a bit of Velcro. I've got some little Velcro dots just round here. What I'm going to do now is just put a little bit of Velcro onto Wally. Now, let's have a look. I'll just sit him on here. And he's actually sitting on a chair of a very dear friend of mine who sadly died, a chap called Eddie Scrivens. We started Weir Valley Woodturners together. We were the founders of the Woodturning Club. And Eddie and I, well, we went to every single demonstration together. We went all over the country together and all the shows, and that's where we met a lot of the professional demonstrators like Jimmy Close and Phil Irons, Tracy Owen, Mick Hanbury, and great guys. Very, very inspirational and helpful. But I think you tend to find that that really is what happens in the world of woodturn. In any case, most people are helpful. So we've got our Velcro dot here, and the Velcro dot, I'll put one onto the back of here like that. There we go, just a little dot on there, and then I'll get another dot onto here, and then we can attach that to young Mr. Walter here, the woodturner, made by my mother-in-law. He's been to every single demonstration I've ever done, and he's like me lucky mascot. I've had him 17 years, so he's met a few people. There we are. That's the Velcro dots. So there, I'll show you the chair. He's got some Velcro dots on his back as well to keep him in the chair. But that's the chair there. It's a beautiful little chair, and we've got the seats for him to push his bum down in there, and he can sit on his chair like that. And although he's got his scarf on, we'll put him a Dickie Bow tie on as well. There, pop his Dickie Bow tie on. There we are. By gum, doesn't he look smart with his Dickie Bow tie? Lovely. I'll pop him back over here and keep an eye on us, keep us right. And can you see he's got his spindle gouge, his ball gouge, all of his abrasives in there as well. He's a cracking little fella. Anyhow, that's a couple of finishes. So we've got microcrystalline. We've got you could take it to 240, use cut and polish, and then microcrystalline as well. That would work nicely. Or you can use your buff and wheel, you can use your sand and sealer, you can use just microcrystalline on its own, which we have done for the Wengi, and these two here, the oak ones, these are old oak as well. So these. Well, that's it. That's the end of the turning of the Dickie Bow tie. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've actually got a one on here. If I show you on there, it's a bit blingy, that one there. It's a one that I turned and I rolled it in some paint, and some of the paint had glitter on, so I thought that would be a nice one for Christmas. So it's a piece of elm, but you can see on the back there how the stud's been glued in. Allow it 24 hours for the glue to set up. And the one that I talked about last of all, the old oak one, this is the old oak one here. And this old oak happened to come from Durham Cathedral, which is very close to where I live. It's only 9 miles away. And I actually taught the canon of Durham Cathedral. And in 1989, they replaced the bells in the West Wing bell tower. And they took all of the oak out, and the canon asked me if I would like some. So that's 12th century Durham Cathedral oak. I would imagine that it's French oak because it was a Norman built cathedral, and it's nice to have, and it's nice to, I give these away sometimes as gifts. So if you want to be part of the bow tie club, if you go into the workshop, turn yourself a bow tie, get in touch with us, either send me an email, or if you want to get in touch via Facebook, it's Andrew Hall Weardale. Or if you want to have a look at my YouTube site, it's Andrew Hall Woodturner, and just message me through them, and then send me some photos of your bow tie, and you will become a member of the bow tie club. So again, congratulations on being the first person to answer the question in the IRD. Quick off the keyboard, and have fun in your workshop, stay safe, take care, and I look forward to seeing your bow ties. Bye for now.